This is a Strategist, episode 1893. My name is Zain Velji. With me, as always, Stephen Carter, Annalise, Klingbeil, and Shannon Phillips with the live audience in Calgary. Hello, friends.
Hi. Hello. Good evening.
Carter's way over there.
Carter, you're sitting very
Some
isolated.
distance between us.
Oh, we also have this music playing. That's good. I like this. Haxam, I like the echo of the organ, but I think Christy's going to top it. God damn. It's good. It's just a thing I thought about 5 minutes ago that I wanted to do. When you hire an organist,
Gotta use the organ.
Gotta get your money's worth.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is important.
okay, so we're here for Stephen Carter.
Yeah.
The 9 lives of Stephen Carter. Actually, Haxam, let's just move it on to our first segment. Our first segment, as you will see on the slide, you can click on that. God damn it, the 9 lives of Stephen Carter, presented by Flair Airlines.
Not a sponsor.
Look at that. Christy got it too on the title. Carter.
Yeah.
We are here to talk about the municipal election in Calgary. We are here to talk about your work on that municipal election in Calgary.
Yes, we are.
For those that are not familiar, let me set the stage. Anytime any of us gets involved in a political campaign, whether it be in this city, this province, this country, we do what we call a
Accountability episode.
and accountability is generally not done in a church like this.
But it fits.
Next level accountability.
This is next level accountability. So Carter, Shannon, myself, Annalise, we're all going to get into the mix, asking you, frankly, a question that I suspect has not been asked in this church in a long time. How did you fuck this up?
It's a united church. They've asked that.
They probably asked that.
Of the country.
They probably said, keep it going, whatever the fuck it is. Okay.
She's good.
We're going to have to really pay Christy well.
Yeah.
Carter, so we're going to give you an opportunity to set the stage. Rather than peppering you with questions, we'll let you defend yourself, talk about, explain wherever you want to take this in terms of what happened in the municipal elections with the Calgary Party.
And I get to do this in front of the mayor.
Yes. That's yes.
The current mayor. Oh, you're standing. Okay. That was...
The eulogy of the Calgary Party.
You're giving a eulogy. Okay.
Stephen, this is your conscience speaking, Stephen. Yes, that's right. Your conscience sounds exactly like, much better than Zaram Mamdani, Corey Hogan, MP for Calgary Confederation. And Stephen,
Yeah. Yes.
as your conscience, I don't want you to lie to these people. I don't want you to bury your feelings in this weird postmodern thing you're doing tonight, where there's like lawn signs and stuff at a funeral. So, Stephen, I want you to tell the truth about the many, many nights you toiled away on this Rube Goldberg machine-like campaign in 34 different places, and how that may have perhaps contributed to some of the failure you're basking in tonight, Stephen. Stephen, over to you, Stephen.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Wrong church. I fucked up. I'm done.
Is that it? You fucked up?
Yeah, I fucked up.
Folks, if you
That's
did
a
not...
eulogy.
Listen, if you did not recognize that other voice, that voice of consciousness, that emotional support member of parliament, should we bring him up on
Let's
stage?
bring him up.
I think there's a bit of demand for him to come back. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever he is, probably making his way down the steps. Can he make his way down the steps? Has he made his way down the steps? Oh my goodness, there he is.
There he
Canada's
is.
favorite parliamentary secretary, the MP for Calgary Confederation, and our podcast former co-host, Corey Hogan.
I bring the good word.
Oh,
Budget
my-
2025.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, grab a chair, Hogan. Grab a chair and join us for the accountability. Of your budget, where are the climate initiatives? Imagine if we pulled a fast one out of Carter.
Could we?
You moved
Could
the
we
chair
open-
here.
Corey.
This feels like a bit of bait and switch here. I thought we were making fun of this guy.
Could we open with a reading from the Book of Carney?
Yeah.
Go to the
no
women
problem.
and gender equality section and read to us about
Find
that.
it.
Here's,
Find it.
Is it there?
Yeah.
Yes, the fully funding of gender programs, chap.
Oh, great. I'll wait for the Indigenous rights
Chapter
section, too.
4. Defending our sovereignty.
Yeah, that's great.
The word of Carney. So saith the Prime Minister.
Welcome, Corey.
Thank you for this august honor of now being an also-ran on a podcast that I founded. And hey, congratulations on getting a church, apparently.
I
That's
know, it's
really
a big
cool.
deal. People on a balcony.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool. It's really cool. Okay.
Not very enthusiastic people on the
I know.
balcony.
Listen, well,
They're there.
But you know what? You know what they did do tonight? They saved $45. Unlike these losers. We're like 12 minutes in and we haven't asked you a question.
I'm making sure that it goes longer.
Carter, we'll actually give you a fair shake. Let's get started because I want Annalise, Corey, Shannon to all get in. What the hell happened, man?
We lost the question. We lost the question. And when you lose the question, you're not able to control the outcome of the election. So the question became, who do I want to vote for to stop Jyoti Gondek? Who do I want to vote for to stop Sonia Sharp? And the person that they chose is the one wearing the chains of office. And they chose Jeremy instead of Brian. And that was, we started to lose control of the question probably pretty early in September. But by the time October rolled around, we had well and truly lost the actual question.
yeah, I agree with you and I don't.
What?
As a good conscience, right? I do think you lost control of the question, but I actually think the question ended up being a little bit different. And it was a challenge for you. And maybe if the election had gone an extra month, maybe the outcomes would have been different in unpredictable ways. But for me, I think a lot of Calgarians started to see 2025 as a rerun of 2021. I mean, you had the main characters still, right? You had Davison, you had Jeremy Farkas, you had Jyoti Gondek. They were all running again, and they were the big dogs in that race until Sonia Sharp started moving up in kind of the polling. And they said, the ballot question became, did I make the right decision in 2021? And as long as that was the ballot question, you never had a chance. Now, in the last month, I think as Sonia Sharp started to increase, I think the dynamic started to shift in interesting ways. But I don't think you lost because of the question you think you lost for.
Well, that's interesting. I mean,
Remember, he could be a minister one day. Go ahead.
if he was a minister, I probably wouldn't tell him to go fuck himself, but he's not. So, Christy!
I actually appreciate that analysis. Annalise, you follow municipal probably with Carter, as close to Carter as possible. You were on TV on election night talking about the state of the race, the state of what happened. Follow-ups for Carter? Any analysis on your end?
I have follow-ups.
Yes, you do.
Stephen Carter. To Corey's point, though, the way you frame the question is like the mayoral race. You weren't just doing one race. You were doing 14,
we lost
14 in Calgary, another 15 in Edmonton. When did you start to know, I guess, walk back about like how hard it was to run that many races at the same time? Because it was a very different experience for you than last time. And when you started to know that it wasn't just mayoral, it was also these other races.
Well, I mean, the councillor races were really interesting because they were really propping up the mayor's race. We were able to do things that other campaigns couldn't do because we had ground game in 13 of the 14 wards. So we had our brochure distribution, I think, was better. I think our door knocking was better. I think our ability to do a ground game was better. And it actually showed itself in the councillor races, not in the mayor's race. Our councillors got about 25,000 more votes than the mayor's race got. So I think that we were able to capture people in a different way with the councillor races. Now, we still were only successful with one. So ultimately, they weren't as successful as we would have liked, but they provided a ground game that didn't exist for any of the other mayoralty campaigns, in my opinion.
Do you think you made the wrong bet on parties?
Yeah.
Did I make the wrong bet on parties?
I'm plus wanting the question, not his answer.
No. No, I didn't.
Why?
Yeah. Why?
No,
Why?
and also,
Why?
I think you need
Like
to answer.
all evidence to the contrary asks you why.
No, I don't think the question. Can I just?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having Corey Hogan here today.
Do you want to read something else? Any other sections he's missing? I'm sure there are, Shannon. Carter, there's a two-part question. Two-part question.
Yeah.
You think you were wrong on parties? I'm going to add a second part to Annalise's question. Do you think you were wrong on this party in terms of what the name of this party was, the positioning of this party, or lack thereof, in terms of what you were trying to promote? So the party question, sure, but this party, the Calgary Party.
Well, I mean, I wanted a party that was center left, not a party that was center right. In hindsight, I think that if we'd run a center right party, we could have done better. But I don't think that would have been as, we wouldn't have captured the same type of attention. But I still think, I know that evidence to the contrary, because we did get a lot of negative feedback at the doors, and people did poll about 50-50 on parties. But we really ran into a lot of headwind in the inner city and a lot less headwind in the suburbs. There was a lot more openness to the party ideas in, for example, Ward 1, where Joey Nowak was within a few hundred votes of winning. We did Ward 12, where Sarah Ferguson was within 100 votes of winning. Sarah Ferguson. We had, but then in the inner city wards, we did much, much worse because of the party. The places where the quote-unquote progressives separated from us and had their own candidates, we did much worse. But it was mostly because those candidates were really rabble-rousing against the parties. Those three candidates in 7, 8, and 9 especially.
So if you were to do it again, you would still go all in on a party?
I think that we had the best literature. I think we had the best policy structure. I think we had the best ability to do the door knocking. I think we had the best ability to do air war. I think that
There is, let me just, there's laughter coming from the audience.
Corey's face also.
I think they like the build of your momentum. I think that's why they're laughing.
No, I
they're
think
like,
they're- I
they're
think
on an
that's-
emotional high with you.
Did someone
If
cut my
you
mic?
had,
Encouraging laughter. Keep going.
how did you get one seat if you had all of that?
Oh no, we didn't have what would win an election. We had.
No,
So
but
you
yeah,
had
y'all had a
things that
great time,
existed.
I guess, right? Like, what is success? I'm serious. I'm not trying to be too mean, but like, isn't, like you say you had the best of these things, but isn't best in the context of a campaign best able to deliver votes?
Yeah, oh yeah. I think ultimately that's what you want to measure. I think you're probably correct in that is the ultimate measure.
Should we just turn it over to them? I feel like.
Listen, the question was, would I do it again? And the answer is yes, I would.
But you haven't answered my question, which is, did your party stand for
Fuck
anything?
you and your question.
That one deserved a longer one. My question is, I think you had more than what you said. If I were to buy everything you said, ground game, lit, organizing, I also think you had a very, all due respect to the current mayor, I think you had a really good mayoral candidate, one that should have won and could have won on the question of best mayor in my mind.
Thumbs up from the current mayor.
I mean, I think
Don't
that
be
Jeremy.
a sore winner, Farkas. You've got a fucking chain around your neck. I love Thiessen. I think you guys had a party that stood for nothing.
Exactly.
What was the fucking Calgary Party, my man?
Can we talk about that name? Can we talk about the name? It's a serious question. Sorry, I think Shannon was going to go there.
Okay, but
Let's talk about the name, and then I have a follow-up on this assertion that a center-right party would have done better.
Yeah, I actually totally disagree, and so maybe it's a lead-in too. Like, the Calgary Party, this is such a low information landscape in a municipal election, right? You're trying to figure out who somebody is. I remember, I've told this story before, I'll tell it again. I remember one election, it was the one that Nahed won, so like 2010? 2010.
Yeah, the first one that.
I went to my parents' house that night and I said, well, who'd you vote for? And they said they were voted for Nahed. And then I said, well, who'd you vote for council? And they're like, I don't know. One of them had stickers that the firefighters supported them on it. I voted for that one, right? And so when I think about that, I think about what does the Calgary Party communicate to people?
Well, the Buffalo Party was already taken.
But
No, but can you bring us inside the story, Carter?
It was for one person.
But can I,
Yeah.
how and why the Calgary Party? If you wanted to go center-left, why not even an indication that that's
progressive,
what you
like an indicator to a low information voter who is bombarded with candidates that this is the progressive candidate.
You know, that's an excellent question. And I think the answer is we wanted to have our cake and eat it too, right? We wanted to be in a position where we could appeal, be center left, but pick up voters. Municipal elections are weird. People vote, all over the place on the ideological frame. So we didn't want to say we're the progressive party because, for a progressive Calgary, first of all, I think that we did run into some problems with the word progressive. There was just some legal issues, but what? You've never run into a legal issue yourselves, I guess. No, but there was some challenges with some of the names, and we wound up choosing the most watered down version. Because we were, right off the bat, we tried to assemble the largest possible team to make decisions collectively as much as possible. And that was a massive mistake.
Why did you do that, though?
Because we're trying to get buy-in, especially from the fucking progressives. When you're trying to win over a group of voters, you can't have them split. Right? And so this group was splitting almost from, it was a group that is bound to fracture because progressives all like to test each other's blood and make sure they know whether or not.
I need to get Shannon in here in a second, so keep going. But I think this hits on Shannon's center right, and I'm sure you're probably going to want to jump in on the progressive element.
They break apart like brittle glass. And so we tried to bring them together and tried to include them in our decision making. And so from the very beginning, we had a group of 50, 60, 70 people sometimes that would gather in Brian's boardroom. And then half of them, at the very least, would object to something. And then they would object to something else. And then there would be something else. And then they wind up fucking you anyways. Yes. Shannon, perhaps you're familiar.
Shannon, get it.
Welcome to the NDP. It's a mistake to invite too many new Democrats. One of the first jobs I ever had, my friend Marilyn Hooper, who went on to work in City Hall in Edmonton, used to say, you can please some of the people all the time, all the people some of the time, but you can never please a new Democrat. So that is true. That is an iron law of politics. But it doesn't, it's also true the cranks in the other parties. It's true of politics. So what I don't get is there was a clear lane here, a center-left lane, because, Jeremy, just pretend you're not here. You had a very crowded right flank. Davison, Sharp, Farkas, nobody knows what he is.
We'll get to that.
And you had an incumbent who had essentially disqualified herself from re-election. So you had a clear center-left lane. So I have a question about how it is that, you said once on the podcast that as soon as you're talking about viability, that that's all you're talking about. But it would seem to me that the first question to take on was viability in the center-left lane.
Well, the left versus right question that was developing was entirely around housing. And housing was a nightmare for us. Housing was a problem for money, and housing was a problem for people.
Hold on one second. Do you think people voted on issues in this election?
No, not at all.
Okay, keep going. I just want to make sure I'm clear with that.
The vote wasn't about issues. Our lane was on that issue. We were the only ones, beside a mayor who had disqualified herself due to her previous 4 years, we were the only ones who had the ability to take housing and make housing our show. But we were so pressured from so many different people, because it turns out that housing, the people who like housing and the people who like parties are in a Venn diagram, two different circles, right? So we were pressured in a massive fashion because we couldn't, ultimately we had to back away from housing, we had to back away from our left-wing credentials, if you will, because there was so much pressure from the center and so much pressure from others.
Do you think that was complicated by being in a party where it cut differently on the ward level? Like you talk about, Shannon, a really crowded race, and you're totally right on the mayoral side, but on some of the riding level or ward level fights, it was a bit different, which maybe made it a bit harder to carve out like a victory path that was 35%, say, instead of 50.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the challenges, because you would have certain wards where you couldn't even mention housing. If you mentioned housing, you were dead in the water. And those wards are now represented by troglodytes. So I think that's the right word.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that word means, but Christy, can you just add one for just in case? I don't know whatever. Just add one just in case it means something that I don't want to be sinning.
Troglodytes.
Troglodyte.
Troglodytes. What would you play as a chord for troglodytes?
No.
Just anything.
Come on, Christy.
Yeah, that sounds right. I would have said yes to anything. But Carter. I know Shannon wants to get in and Annalise wants to get in. Okay. So can you help me summarize a bit? What do you think you guys, okay, let's start this. What would you do again? Right? What would you do again? Party, I have, as you would do again. This party, this sort of mealy-mouthed, stand for nothing, my definition. Like, your candidates I thought were great, but your party stood for nothing. This is my analysis. Would you do this party again? Let's just get to the fact.
I would do this party with a different name.
Okay.
I would do, I would hold on to housing tighter. Really, really jump on housing. Like, we're the only ones who are gonna go for it.
You're talking about future election, or if you would redo this one? Just
Redo this election.
Okay, that's what you would have done.
We only needed what did Jeremy, you won with 4%, 6% of the vote, something like that. The vote total was so bad. In hindsight, we were shooting for 100,000 votes. 100,000 votes you can get on housing. Let's go housing all the way.
How would you have got, in a low information voting era, we can talk about media, we can talk about social media, how would you have gone all in on housing?
Well, now you're bringing up the impossible challenge that we're running into in politics right now. So you're right, I don't have the answer for the impossible challenge. So the impossible challenge is there is no more traditional media. Social media is at best a cesspool, but there is no communication structure around it anymore. Not the way we used to be. Like Jyoti, in her first run, we would put out 4 or 5 tweets in a tweet stream, right? And everybody would read them and think that she was taking on Jason Kenney. There was none of that. You couldn't put things up on Twitter X now and have it seen by people. You would, everything had to be paid. Everything had to be produced, and it was just really, really hard to get anybody's attention. And so to that point, I think that's where housing would have actually worked, because I think that housing was the one issue that everybody was talking about, and it would have done us just fine to have 900,000 people walking around the city of Calgary saying, I'm not voting for those pricks because they're pro-housing, and the 100,000 people that are pro-housing go, oh, those are my people. That's who I need to go to.
I get head nods from Shannon. Jump in.
So if you had more money then, how would you have bought your way out of that to make housing the vote determining issue for the progressives? Because clearly we have to buy it in order to get the eyeballs, but there's a problem of fundraising there. But if you had the money, what would you have bought to do it?
Well, apparently I didn't spend the money very well, because what was the thing you said about votes?
You need them to win?
We need more votes to win. Yeah, okay.
Ladies and
that's a
gentlemen,
good
your
point.
member of parliament right here. Oh my goodness.
Something I learned, by the way. So.
Not by much.
And maybe not with that budget. Anyways,
Jeremy and I are sitting here being like, yeah, so what? Who cares? Yeah, that's right.
What was the question?
how would you structure a party?
Are you buying
How would
it?
you
I would
say
just
that?
buy
To
housing
defi-
ads. I mean, we bought ads on all kinds of different issues.
Did
we
any
were
of
all
your
over
ads
the place.
resonate?
Apparently not. No, I mean, we weren't getting. The only metrics we could get from our advertising was how many people we showed it to. There was no other metrics that were really starting to come. You know, like there was no organic views. There was no organic sharing. There was no organic comments. All of that was gone. It just didn't exist. And I don't know if it existed in other people's pages. I mean, we would go and do spot checks on Jeremy's page. We'd go and do spot checks on Jyoti. Jyoti's page was quite an adventure to go do a spot check on. Don't read that page. That was nasty. But you know, we'd take a look at everybody's stuff, and no one was getting organic stuff. No one was getting anything that had any real jump, because we were like, if someone's got jump, we'll copy what they're doing. I wasn't above it, you know. But no one was really getting the big jumps.
Let me get in the bucket of what you would do again. Party, but not this one. What else would you do again? Let's say you're running it back. We give you hindsight tonight as in your favor. What would you do and leave the same? And then because I want to make this constructive. This is as much as it gives some of us in this room satisfaction to shit on Carter. I want to actually figure out. Thank you. Nicely done, Chris. That's good. Wasn't part of the example set, but Christy's like learning on the job. Carter, what else would you leave in the I would still do this bucket?
I'd keep the candidates.
Okay.
I was super pleased with our candidates. Our candidates did a great. Big round of applause for our candidates.
Do you think it was easier to recruit those candidates with a party?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, keep in mind that in terms of progressive people who are running in this election, and just, you know, define your own level of progressive. If you were running as an independent, you were a white man. If you were a progressive and you ran in this election, if you weren't running with the Calgary Party, you were a white man unless your name was Courtney Penner. Everybody else was, you know, I mean, they're cookie cutters except for the mustache, right? So, another small bit joke there. It was good though. Yeah, Harrison. Yeah,
It's Harrison. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Funny.
But
Who beat your candidate?
the
in
party
line?
enabled us to recruit visible minorities. The party enabled us to recruit women. The party enabled us to recruit people with different means. We were able to put people into competitive races. We weren't able to win, but we put them into competitive races because we had a party structure. If you look around at the other people who were in those competitive races, they didn't have the party structure. There was a lot of people. I mean, obviously a lot of people fail when they run in these elections, but the people who failed the hardest was anybody who's kind of reached out of the generic white male stereotype.
What would you change? Let's add it. Okay, so you've got your pluses. I'm not going to address some of those comments. You're entitled to what you kind of think on that stream of things in terms of what happened and what should leave the same. What would you change? Because if you're keeping your candidates and you're keeping your party and you're tweaking the name, what would you change? Is it financial allocation? Is it leadership? Is it people? Is it structure? Is it timeline? Is it when you started attacking Danielle Smith? Like, I'm giving you some ideas.
Yeah. Can you talk about that momentum to Zain's point? Like we talked in the summer on an episode, and you're like, 10 seats. We're gonna do 10 seats. Like, did you really?
What am I gonna say?
Did
We don't know. We're trying our best.
Did you really think? Like, did you just not hit the momentum at the right time? Did you need 3 more months? Like,
We're doing really well right after Stampede. Our money was flowing really well. Right after Stampede, when we'd done the first poster thing, everybody was talking about us. We were doing very well right after Stampede. Then we hit...
when most of Calgary was away.
When most of Calgary was away, yes.
Great time to
Then
be
we hit
doing really
August,
well.
where it got even worse. No one was around in August. I would definitely change when we started to go after Danielle Smith. I think that if we'd gone after Danielle Smith, starting just before Labor Day, we could have really established ourselves as the anti-Danielle Smith party. Even in fact, we could have gone after Danielle Smith more in July. It was kind of the silver bullet that we were saving, and we saved it too long. We only did 3 weeks of really anti-Danielle Smith rhetoric. And I really wish that we'd done that much earlier, before the race had started to coalesce around, what did you characterize it as? The 2021 redo?
Yeah, it was a mulligan on 21.
Yeah. So when it started to coalesce around that, that's when we really started to go after Danielle. And I think that if we'd gone after Danielle, 3 weeks, 4 weeks earlier than that, we could have started to switch the temperature gauge.
What about tying Sharp to Danielle Smith? And I think we haven't really talked about that, but Sharp was 500 votes away from being mayor. Like,
700. No one's counting. Yeah, I mean, Sharp
was part of a party.
Yeah, Sharp was really scary. Sharp was the only one we really attacked. And really, Sharp was attacked.
So,
by
clarify
everyone.
what you mean by scary. Do you mean as an opponent, or if she became mayor, she would have been scary as an outcome, or both?
Oh, if she became mayor, she was positively the worst possible person to become the mayor of a city.
But
Not for Corey though. Corey thinks that she's okay.
I am stone-faced on all things not in my political lane. But look, Stephen, I got to tell you, we haven't even gotten to Edmonton. Jesus.
We're not doing Edmonton yet.
gotta go to
Thank you,
Edmonton.
Christy. But your kind of introspection right now seems to be along the lines of the operation was a success. It's too bad the patient died,
You know what though? You've only won the one election, so you're probably not familiar with how it feels when you start to get the momentum. But once you start to get the so the wave that passed us and hit Jeremy and hit Sonia and hit Jyoti to a degree, because Jyoti did pick up a lot of the wave that I think was there for us to pick up. The wave that we missed could have been our wave.
Yes.
Wait.
Got me.
You
Say
could
that
have
again.
won.
Say that again. The wave.
He could have
I
won,
zoned
Zain.
out. I'm sorry.
The wave we missed.
Yeah.
Had we gone after Danielle Smith perhaps 3 weeks earlier, that wave could have picked us up and taken us somewhere.
Do you really think that?
So it's not that the Calgary Party didn't stand for anything. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
We stood for all kinds of things. We had 11 policy books.
I mean, you had a party that rhymed with the Alberta Party, in a sense, that has not been a vehicle that didn't go anywhere for a decade. Like, I don't mean to be like, hey, it was a failure on day one, but I'm...
Yeah, but there were so many ways.
I'll
I
let
remember
you-
working with you and Corey on a campaign for the Alberta Party. It was really close to actually going so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not part of the website bio, but yeah. We did. We worked on Greg Clark's by-election campaign.
Greg Clark's by-election.
This is a great time to mention that this is when mall security at Sunridge Mall thought, okay, this is a real story. Can I share a real story with
You
the crowd?
can,
Okay,
and I
we'll
know
do-
it.
This is actually a pretty good story.
To be fair to them.
To be fair to them, I was a brown man buying 50 burner phones
Okay,
from...
just the 50 burner phones part, I think, is maybe suspicious behavior.
And because my credit limit was not high enough, I was paying on debit. PC Financial Debit. Very popular card in the Northeast. Anyways, optimum points. It all ties back. Galen Weston approved signs. Anyways, I'm buying 50 burner phones from the Best Buy Mobile, and mall security pretty much keeps me there for 3 hours because they think I'm doing the biggest drug deal ever. That was the Greg Clark campaign by-election.
That was, yeah.
Unrelated to anything we're talking about, but maybe.
So, like the Alberta Party, standing for nothing, but also, I want to put a thesis to you, Carter, and that is this: that the waves that were missed, that you could have caught and would have been yours, I think. Yeah.
You got it. You got it.
Waves just
Could've won.
create themselves.
Okay.
They're not generated. Campaigns don't matter, and then you just ride them.
That's how budgets balance themselves. It's
Reading
totally
a
different.
Murakami novel.
I'm
Okay,
focused.
So in my view, this is my thesis. They were, and this is as a Calgary politics adjacent sort of normie. I don't really care about Calgary politics, but you missed the villain and you missed the viability. That's my thesis. That there was no villain, whether it's that guy sitting right there or Danielle Smith, or like there was a defining who the opponent is, who are we trying to beat and why. But two, we are the person to beat them. Because you had to establish that to get the incumbent out of the way. That's the thesis.
I totally agree with that. And I think that we missed on both the villain, which is why we should have moved Danielle Smith up earlier. We didn't go after, I don't think we mentioned Jeremy once.
Why?
Who could remember how to spell his name?
The voters remembered how to spell it.
Jeremy, are you? Yeah, that's true. Jerome, the mayor of Calgary, is like. It's good.
It's good. It's nice.
Pretty good.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I actually agree with Shannon says, but I'm let you. If you're on a wave here, that's just been created out of nowhere. Please ride it.
No, I think that if we viability was our problem from the very beginning, and we struggled with viability, and I think that we did a pretty good job of viability right after, again, when everybody was on vacation, as Annalise pointed out.
After Stampede?
After Stampede. And then we couldn't get it back fast enough in late August and early September. And by the time we'd kind of lurched to the attack Danielle phase, we'd missed the wave. The wave had passed us. I do think that there was a wave for us to catch. I do think that there was a mechanism by which we could have won. We just missed it. And that is foundationally different.
I want to bring something up here. Yeah, keep going.
It's foundationally different than just getting your ass handed to you. You remember the ABC election in Vancouver?
As long as you want to bring that up.
Yeah.
Got my ass handed to me.
Yeah.
There was no wave to catch. There was no wave that we could manufacture. There was no wave that we could get. And I think there's been a couple of times I've said, Ginny Sims in Surrey, I've said there was just not an opportunity for us to win. We didn't have the opportunity. The wave, there was no wave. There was no construction of a wave. There was no premise of a wave. But I'm telling you, with the Calgary Party, with the opportunity that we had, there was a wave that was there that could have been taken advantage of that we didn't get.
Why did you not get it?
We didn't go fast enough on Danielle. We weren't seen as viable when the question came around.
As much as I make fun of you, it's out of love, because I will say this. There was a moment for me, and I'm curious if there was a moment for the rest of you here, and probably some in the room. Knowing Carter, there was Carter's got to move. Carter's like 3 weeks, because adding your name to something, despite everything you are, and in some cases because of who you are, adds a credibility marker, but also adds a skill factor where we were like, there's got to be a Carter move here. 4 weeks.
Oh, well,
there's
listen.
got to be a Carter move here. 3 weeks.
I
What's
talked
the
to
Carter move here?
reporters,
2 weeks
I
left.
talked to columnists, I talked to opinion leaders, not just here in Calgary, but across Canada, and they'd be like, yeah, but Carter's got
Carter's
something,
doing it.
right?
Like, there's gotta be a
Carter's
play
gonna do a thing, right?
Was there
You-
a play
you were
that
calling
made?
me, asking for
Did you make a play and we didn't notice, or? You know what? Actually,
I'm gonna make that my ringtone.
Or, Carter, did you have no moves?
Are you describing my high school love life? No, I mean,
I'm curious. You add a massive credibility factor. Like, you're very good at what you do, which is why I think expectations were high. When you were like, we're going to win 10 seats, I'm like, fucking Carter's going to win 10 seats.
No, here's the way it was supposed to work. The way it was supposed to work was that the ground game that we were doing through April, May, June, July, that ground game was going to be a basis of support. And that basis of support and viability was then going to be elevated by the air war that came with the mayor's race. And I just don't think that air war came with the mayor's race. I mean, the evidence shows that we didn't capture that wave that usually comes along. I would argue, with all due respect to the mayor, it didn't come for anybody, really. Someone, and I'm not
He's
pointing
not
any,
agreeing with you, just so you know.
someone, and I'm not pointing any figures, lost like 21,000 votes from his last time. This was not an election that anybody was winning so much as everybody else was losing. And we just happened to be the biggest loser.
Yeah, I want to hear about Edmonton now.
Do we-
Yeah.
do-
We're not doing Edmonton
Okay.
tonight.
I know you're turning to me.
Although I
Where
will
the fuck is
say,
this shit going?
I would like to welcome Reed Clark, one of my former candidates. Reed Clark, thank you very much. Counselor,
Successful.
I would
candidate,
like,
yes.
yeah,
I would
successful
like to-
counselor in Edmonton, who has subsequently left the party. Thanks, Reed. Good to see you.
I would like to welcome a candidate who won, Aaron Paquette, Councillor for Wardini.
Yeah.
Not a Carter candidate. He won.
Anyone you'd like to welcome?
I introduced myself pretty nicely, I thought. So.
Another candidate who won.
Okay. Let's also, by the way, for you guys, I was pretty casual with this. What we're going to do is at some point we'll break this part of the conversation, and then we'll have a part B. We'll do a quick 10-minute intermission. We'll come back. There'll be a Q&A, special guest. We'll chat some more shit. We'll get you guys involved. So we'll put Carter out of his misery at some point. However, to this point,
Not this point.
not this
Not
point.
right now.
I want to understand from you've got 5 political practitioners on the stage here, many more interested in politics, people elected to office, people who are political practitioners themselves. Let's talk about the state of play in a broader sense and get into the what the hell did you learn? So if this was less accountability, more forward-looking, what the hell did you learn this time, my man?
I learned that, we need social networks to activate. Case in point, Corey Hogan. Corey Hogan had the social networks activate. The number of people that came from our Discord, the number of people who came from the subscribers, from the people who were here. How many people actually worked on the Corey Hogan campaign? Where the fuck were you?
For your service.
How many of that same group of people worked on Jeremy's fucking campaign? That's not what I heard.
They're all in the balcony.
The Discord was all over Jeremy Baramy. You know, the truth is that the social networks are the only way to activate a vote right now, and those social networks are super hard to reach. They're easier to reach at a federal politic level. They're easier to reach at a provincial politic level. They were impossible to reach municipally. We still saw the same spike 24 hours before the election of the number of people who went and searched Jeremy Farkas's name or searched, the Calgary Party or any of these other things.
Would you, can I ask you this? I'll ask you this one, I'll let Corey get in. Would you today take 500 super fans of your next political project or $500,000 in the bank?
500 super fans.
No kidding.
Yeah, anytime.
You would
Every
too.
single
Hogan,
time.
get in with your comment as well.
Yeah, look, first of all, the world can be changed by 50 superfans, right? Like, it's so important. The people who show up make decisions, and they can change everything. And they can bring 5 non-superfans with them, and they can bring 5 different new superfans the week after that. But as you talk, Stephen, I realized what the original sin of your campaign was, and it was that you ran it like it was a provincial election or a federal election. You created a political party that was designed to appeal to a lot of people instead of a narrow interest that's required to win municipally. You treated it as though the candidates were candidates for MLA within a bigger party frame, and that's just simply not how it works. The candidates who won for you, well, I think about DJ specifically, he almost won the time before, right? And there was this Sean Chu thing, and it was going back and forth on, and it was never going to be a provincial election, ever. There was never going to be a situation where the policy would speak to everybody. I'm not even saying parties can't work municipally. I'm saying it's going to look different municipally, and you tried to make it look like it would look provincially.
But Corey, if that's the case, then why did the right-wing people win?
But they really didn't. Like, when you look at like the community's first, slate, a few won, but
They were incumbents.
they were incumbents. It was a situation where, if anything, I started to think, well, because I was looking at them, You can look it up yourself, but one of the community's first people, their vote dropped a lot. And I thought because, they just put the label on themselves that they are now a member of this right-wing group. And I just don't see any evidence that political parties municipally are going to perform, at least in the short term, like they do provincially. Scattered applause, it's my favorite.
What do you think of that thesis? I'm asking you for what you learned, but I'm curious. Corey's thrown something on the table. I'm curious to get your reaction to it. That you tried to model this after something you'd already seen in different orders of government or different political avenues.
The thesis behind the party is different, I think, than people want it to be. The thesis behind a party is that people make such shallow choices when they're making their vote. You know, the sticker from the firefighters on a sign. We wanted to give them a political shorthand that they knew that they were choosing the right candidate without having to do the work of choosing the right candidate. And I still think that's right. I still think that people make... Fuck off.
You called it the Calgary
I'm
Party.
telling you right now.
Like, what's the shorthand?
The Liberal Party was
Yeah.
going to be that much
Okay,
easier?
listen.
I couldn't even name it after the Liberal Party. Someone already had that.
You know what? People think their whole life about whether they're a Liberal or a New Democrat or a Conservative. The Calgary Party, like, it's too much mental work, you know? And this was true, actually, I believe, of Communities First, too. It doesn't mean a ton. And in fact, if you picked up some of Sonia's earliest literature, you could think she was the far left candidate, you know? It was just very generic, and it was bad wayfinding. And it was only when she started providing good wayfinding that she started to rise in the polls.
What else did you learn?
Huh?
What else did you learn?
Hasn't
Networks.
this whole fucking show been about what I learned?
Well, here's the thing. You learned that you would triple down on social networks more so than anything else. Did you learn something about
I think we
advertising?
learned- I think
Did
we
you learn
spent-
anything about leadership? Did you learn anything about structure? Like, these are the things that I want to kind of go through in terms of what you feel like were lessons learned that you will port to the next project that you take on.
Social networks are the only thing that mattered. I wouldn't spend nearly as much money on digital. We'd pull way back on digital. Canada Post going on strike in the middle of a campaign is never good, especially when you lose about 100,000 brochures and you have to send a truck to go get the other 400. Like, you can't deliver 500,000 brochures without Canada Post. So losing Canada Post, that was a huge chunk of our communication strategy that just went away when we lost that. We tried to replace it, but man, those brochures never got delivered. So when you lose 500,000 brochures, I still think that going direct to home is the best way to communicate through the mail, or through the mail or door knocking. I still don't think that texting is working as well as we think it is, and I don't think that calling is working at all. So, if we're going back to first
Calling
principle,
wasn't working at all?
oh no.
Talk to me about calling. Let's take a deep dive for a second on calling. We've heard in recent sort of political science and practitioner evidence that, like, chatty phone calls are what's the hottest thing again. Tell me why calling wasn't working. And was it the type of calling you were doing?
Zain, you haven't answered your phone in 6 years.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in where I stand on most things, including not picking up a call from my MP until he's a minister.
2 out of 5.
Which, by the way, you could just get behind there and you'll be a type of minister.
Lots of ministers, right?
Yeah, you could. But keep going.
2 out of 5, 1 out of 3 doors will open when you knock on them.
Yes.
You're going to get a conversion rate that's going to be 1 out of every 4 doors, 1 out of every 6 doors, something along those lines, where you're converting a voter over to your numbers. On telephone calls, you can literally have the auto dialer and just turn it on, and the odds of getting someone who's actually a voter are unbelievably slim. And what you are getting, you're getting a group of voters they're either angry and they want to talk about it, or they're lonely and they'd like to talk about it, right? Or they're stupid and you don't want to talk about it, right? But those, not your voters. Your voters were very informed.
Respecting the voter was not a lesson that Stephen Carter learned.
But the truth
okay,
of
yeah.
the matter is you're not
hear
reaching
you.
a voter that is available to you on the telephones. And the texting is interesting because, I know that in Edmonton we bought a lot of texting, and texting we're getting a lot of really positive feedback. I'm not sure that feedback's real. I think that it's kind of like digital. You put digital up, you get a lot of digital numbers, but the digital numbers aren't necessarily real. What are we measuring, right? Like, we're putting real bodies into a theater or a church. That's real. I don't know that at any point during the campaign we could have put, we put 400 people in a couple of times.
Did you do rallies?
We tried to do events, not rallies.
Okay.
Rallies are super hard. Events we could do because we could offer people something. You give them a
Like a
sandwich.
crustless sandwich.
Yeah,
Pickles.
that was really good.
People who
crustless
paid too
sandwich.
much money got that joke for sure.
Yeah. The rich bourgeois just laughing it up with their Zain Velji for leader lawn sign.
But it's an interesting point because I certainly, even in my own campaign, started thinking partway through that the real benefit of some of these mass communications channels that are easily tuned out and we're just drowned in them is you're telling your own supporters what the message is, right? Like you are phone blasting it out.
To take it out.
Yeah, it's less to actually persuade the people directly, and it's more to persuade the people indirectly. It's to tell the people who are actually willing to pick up the phone when they see the caller ID say Corey Hogan campaign, okay, this is the message we're using now when we're talking about Jeremy Nixon or when we're talking about Pierre Poilievre. And that's a shift, right? That's very different from how we used to treat these. We used to treat them as direct channels, and maybe now they're indirect channels in some ways.
Yeah, I could buy that. First
I
thing you
think it
said
only-
that I agree with tonight.
I think it only works when you have it on top of, like in your case, in my case, on top of a paid that is
Yeah.
going through, and you're buying every inch of eyeball that you can, with YouTube, with, podcast ads, with every available square inch.
Yeah.
It works then. Otherwise, it's too diffuse because there's just.
Oh, I totally agree. Like I
So I don't know if it would work municipally, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's a great point because I think you would need to have that message given by land, sea, and air many, many times before people get that that's the message.
Here's an interesting sort of meta question as we sit in a room of people who are showing up to our podcast, right? Which is that we have, through our efforts, but also a reciprocal effort of people in this room, created some form of small C community. But you couldn't create that for your campaign. So I'm almost kind of trying to ask, what is a hack that modern media or culture or community building gives you that you want to pour into politics, including this show? This is why I think it's an interesting meta question, where it's you're I couldn't find fans, yet you have 350 plus people here listening to your podcast about your party. There's an irony. There's an interesting, fucked up irony about
And they
it.
paid
by far the most
$75.
anyone has ever talked about the Calgary Party in front of people.
Yeah. So, talk to me about that, and then I'll get
And not only do you have a church full of people, you have people that paid $75 who don't pay $6 a month, but they paid $75.
I love you all.
What have you learned about building community? Back to your first point about networks that have only matter, and I'll let anyone get on this, but what have you learned about community building if those other ways are becoming indirect or less effective?
I think we tried to choose our friends a little bit too much. And we would have been way better off if we'd started with a smaller group of people that was a little bit more evangelical about it, rather than saying, let's go find some evangelists and get them to join our campaign. That was our big mistake early on. We shouldn't have been quite so eager to find big names. The big name should have been Brian Thiessen, and that would have been just fine. But we went and tried to find a lot of people who would help us project our message out, and then they wound up going other places. And they projected messages against us that were incredibly damning. And frankly, now they were very interested in winning a few seats instead of winning the majority of seats. And now we've only got a few seats.
I'm going to move it to our over-under and our lightning round.
Oh, here we
Stephen
go.
Carter. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let everyone except myself kind of get in a question. So, Shannon, any questions lingering on your mind for Stephen to ask him? Annalise the same, and then Corey, I'll end with you. to ask Stephen in terms of what he's learned, in terms of the accountability, in terms of the go forward as a practitioner.
Were you spread too thin?
I was running Edmonton, Calgary, had some stuff in Medicine Hat. It was a little touch and go.
So yes, but to that point though, can I ask a follow up to your question, Annalise?
Yes.
Why did you always tell us you were running 28 campaigns and not 2? Like even the way you thought about the campaigns.
Stephen Carter.
Like, why was it's Stephen Carter, sure, but like I want to understand if there was a strategic reason why you're like, nope, there's 28 campaigns,
Branding, right?
Not 2 political parties.
Because I think that each one of those candidates deserved my full attention.
Okay.
And by saying 2, I gave as much attention to every single candidate as humanly possible.
That's a fair answer. Yeah.
And I
Your
believe that I
actions.
continue to believe.
Steve.
I believe and I continue to believe that was the methodology by which we could have caught the wave.
Yeah,
is
but-
by actually building a good, solid base foundation.
So, Stephen, your actions and your words live on separate continents, though. Like, you can't have 28 campaigns and say you're giving them all your full attention. I mean, that's just math, my dude.
To his
You know,
credit,
we
he said
could have
they
left.
deserved his
We
full
could have done
attention.
this when he was in Ottawa. You know, I told you we could have done it when he was in Ottawa. But no, we have to do it when he's on a break week.
He gets a lot of break time, is what I've learned. What does he do all day? Let's turn it to Corey. Back to that budget, Hogan. Okay, so, but Annalise's question, were you spread too thin?
It's a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question. Yes.
Shannon?
How in the fuck could you run a right-wing campaign in Edmonton and a left-wing campaign in Calgary?
You know,
You know what? I'll make the audible to add 10 minutes to the clock. Let's do it.
Like, is it?
first of all, I reject the notion that either one was particularly left or right.
Where have you been?
Did you meet Tim Cartmel? Did you talk to him ever?
I did. I spent a lot of time with Tim. And I think that Tim Cartmel's biggest failing, if I may, and just foreshadowing for the Edmonton show, was that he had many different disagreements with the premier that he wouldn't voice.
Then he's a right-winger
He's center
or
right.
a coward.
This is a different show.
I like the
But
Carter's paywall in Edmonton.
how do you balance that is my question, because they are fundamentally different approaches, different electorates, and a different way of running a campaign. They have
Yeah.
to be.
I'd say I'm really good, but we lost both.
Was it the same strategy in Edmonton, Carter? Like, would you be doing a copy and paste of sorts?
Not
on this?
really.
No?
We had a much bigger name in Tim. So Tim was always, we always led, it was almost the inverse of the race in Calgary. We led with Tim much more than we led with the candidates. And I think that created some friction with the candidates, but it was also a much more powerful vehicle. We didn't have the ground game in Edmonton that we had in Calgary. We had a much stronger air war, but we weren't saying the right things.
But you had a lot more money in Edmonton.
Over twice as much.
Hogan, you get the final question, and then Christy, right after this, I'm gonna rap. WRAP.
Yeah, I get the audience thanks you for that clarification. Sincere question.
The rest weren't?
No, the rest were just making you feel bad. That's what I do. That's what friends do. What did you learn about yourself in this campaign? Like your limits, your hard limits as a campaign strategist, your blind spots, your weaknesses, or your strengths, frankly, that came out of it all. Like, what are you going to do to guard against you or promote the best you going forward?
I think that the biggest lesson was you can't make your own weather.
But you can
Unless
make
it-
your own waves?
Yeah.
No, but that's why we didn't get the waves, right? Like, I couldn't make my own weather. I couldn't make my own waves, and I couldn't solve, everybody was saying, where's the Carter trick? Where's the Carter thing? There was no Carter trick. There was no Carter thing. The creation of the weather just didn't happen in this campaign, and in the same way that it happened with Nenshi or Gondek or with Redford. So it was a good reminder that the weather happens to us, not necessarily because of us.
Can I make an observation?
Corey's face.
Well, look, when you talk about Nenshi or Redford or Gondek, what they have in common is they are individuals, not 28 campaigns, right? Like, do you think maybe, like, your ambition might sometimes be a bit of a challenge? Like, if you had bitten off less, you might have gotten to eat more?
No.
We're going to leave it there. That's a wrap on episode 1893 of The Strategists. Christy, this is where you can play the extra music. There we go. We're going to edit The Strategists extra the same as the intro. The theme. Yeah. There we go. We're gonna trust me. You guys are gonna cheer so loudly. It's gonna be amazing. That's a wrap on episode 1893 of The Strategists. My name is Zain Velji. With me, as always, Shannon Phillips, Annalise Klingbeil, Stephen Carter, and Corey Hogan.